You've heard their name in stories, Sunday school classes, and from the pulpit. And now it's time to vote to see who is Poplar Springs' favorite Bible character. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 7 of Bible Madness. Episode 7. We were getting so close to narrow it down to this last character. We took a week off last week because we had Father's Day and I had an anniversary. Yay, me and Catherine. So now that we've gotten through that, we're going to push through this week and we're going to give you 3 episodes this week until we get to our championship round on Sunday. And Sunday is going to be a big deal for us. So we'll see when we get to Sunday who's going to be left. But with that being said, you're going to see who made it through from last episode. We'll get to it. We're talking about the last 16 that are here. But you're going to have an episode today. You have one probably around Tuesday and then one around Thursday. And then we'll push those out to you guys for you to be able to vote. And by next Sunday, it's going to be down to two. Okay? So we're going to see who everybody's favorite Bible character is. With all that being said, let's go through the matches for today. Paul versus Job. All right, here we go. So we've got Paul versus Job, a 1 seed versus a 5 seed. You've got this story of redemption and a story of persistence, I guess is the best way to say it. Paul is obviously a very important main character in the Bible that we're looking at. We all know about his past. No need to dig too deep into that, but you guys know what he was doing to Christians leading up to him becoming Paul. And then you got Job. Job is just this persistent character who's just never going to turn his back on God, not going to blame God for anything out of all things that went wrong. I would love for Job to go to the next round, but I can't see it happening in the way you guys are voting because Paul is such an important character. But you got a 1 seed versus a 5 seed, but money's on Paul going into the next round. But, you know, Job could give him a tough round here. I think out of all the number 1 seeds and who they have to go up against, it looks like, this one may be tough, but we shall see. So you guys go to the link below, click, tell me who thinks is going to go into the next round between Paul or Job. Maybe you'll surprise me. Luke versus Peter. All right, so we got Peter versus Luke in this next round. This is a 3 versus a 2 seed. This is the toss-up that normally when you get to this deep in the round, you know it's who's going to make it to the next round. I think it's going to be Peter. To be honest, Peter just has more of a backstory to him than Luke does. I think looking at the two, though, it's not even close. Peter has a redemption story behind him, but just a really solid redemption story that we all love. And we all know about what happens when Jesus asked him if he loves him after he denied him. And so, Peter's the rock. I mean, come on, the rock. This is a tournament, and the Rock should be going deep into the tournament. So between the two of them, I like Luke. I'm surprised that Luke is up higher than Peter in this tournament, but that's neither here nor there. They both made it this far. So looking at the two of them, go and vote. Tell me who you think. My money's on Peter. Tell me if I'm wrong. Mary versus Thomas. All right, so we slide over to the next bracket. Our number 1 seed, Mary, is still in it. This is the mother of Jesus, and she is going up against doubting Thomas. Thomas just got lucky. I'm just going to throw it out there. Don't get me wrong. Doubting Thomas has a really cool story throughout his entire thing when he finally gets to talk. And he gets some really good questions that Jesus is able to help with building our faith. However, it's Mary. Mary has been the one consistent character throughout this entire tournament. It's kind of hard to go up against the mother of Jesus in here. Jesus is in it. So Mary versus Thomas. Mary's going to get to the next round. Sorry, Thomas, but I doubt. See what I did there? I doubt you're going to get into the next round. So Mary's going to slide in, and if she doesn't, I will be shocked beyond all belief. So there you go. Elijah versus John the Baptist. All right, next you got Elijah versus John the Baptist. This is another 3 versus 2 seed here. Old Testament versus New Testament, and the New Testament is not looking good, guys. It's getting to the point now where it's about 50-50 or less, and as I told you, I think there were more Old Testament characters going into these rounds, but now after going into round 3, the Old Testament ones are starting to fall left and right, mainly because the ones that have a better connection with Jesus, you guys seem to be voting into the next round. So with Elijah versus John the Baptist, I still think that Elijah is going to go to the next round as an Old Testament character just because he is so cool. My opinion, he's so cool. John the Baptist is another really fun character. Living out in the wilderness, eating bugs, stuff like that, and he baptized Jesus. I think Elijah's going to go to the next round, but I think you're going to sway the vote, and it's going to be a close one, and John the Baptist is going to get through there, just because he's so well connected with Jesus and their family. So what do you expect? So you guys go and vote and tell me what you think about that one. I think that's going to be a tough one. I'm looking at maybe a 50 to 40% split, 50, 40, 60 to 40% split in there is how it's going to come out. It's going to be that close, but we shall see. Abraham versus Isaac. All right, moving to the third bracket. Okay, we're down to the final four in that bracket. It's Abraham who's the 1 seed, and he gets to go up against Isaac. I appreciate you voting that through so I can see it. So Abraham versus Isaac. You got father versus son. Abraham, God made the promise with Abraham, and so that's what's interesting about this is he makes the promise that his descendants will outnumber the stars, and here's his descendant Isaac that he's now up against. And so, do you go with the one who got the promise, or the one who started fulfilling the promise? And that line of Isaac starts having some really interesting things as he goes through with his kids and everything. So, I mean, I don't know. This one, I don't think it's as tough as it looks like on paper with it being Isaac and Abraham. I know. Abraham's going to go through. He's a 1 seed. He's father Abraham. Some of you may like Isaac and the story that he has and what comes to him and his family, but I'm going to go Abraham. My money's on Abraham. That's who's going to go through the next round. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You heard it here first. Abraham's going to the next round. Mary Magdalene versus Daniel. Here we go. The 2 lowest ranking characters in here are in this next match. And it's a tough one. This is really, really tough. Okay, so you got Mary Magdalene versus Daniel. Man, that's Old Testament versus New Testament. And Daniel is just chock full of great stories when you go to read his book. And the character himself is really, really good. Mary Magdalene, she is the character out of all the characters that are left that I just want to see go deeper into the tournament. Just because I enjoy reading about her and seeing what all she did and realizing she spent almost as much time with Jesus during his ministry as the disciples did. But being a woman, she wasn't really put on the same level as them until she got to become the apostle to the apostle. I mean, the apostles, the first person to hear about Jesus' resurrection and to go tell everybody about it. That one I wish I could give y'all a good answer for, and I want you just to go and vote where your heart leads you to. But if Mary gets past Daniel, then it's going to be bad news for the Old Testament because that's going to tell us we're very attached to the New Testament characters. If Daniel gets through, then it's going to be where it's going to be, and we'll see how the rest of them go. Because it's about a 50-50 split through a lot of these. But this one's tough. I like Mary. Nothing against Daniel. Love reading Daniel's book. Love it. But my money's on Mary. Go and vote, and you tell me who should get into the next round. David versus Noah. All right, so we've got David's bracket, and this is the number 1 seed, David, and he's going up against Noah in the 5 seed. And it's interesting because I think, looking at all of David's brackets, all Old Testament characters. So the good news is there's going to be an Old Testament character in the final 4. So that's the good news. Bad news is some good characters here. So David and Noah are up, 1 versus 5 seed. David is just such a roller coaster of a ride character. Not as bad as Joseph he went through. But you got David, who's the youngest son, the shepherd boy who slays Goliath, plays music for Saul, eventually hunted by Saul. He'll eventually become king, and then when he becomes king, you see how everything starts going downhill from there. But then eventually he upticks back up, and he's a man of God's own heart. It's just a lot of good stuff about David. And then, Noah and the flood. That is probably one of the most popular stories that we tell our children when they're growing up with Noah. But because of who David is and being King David, okay, so keep that in mind. I like David and Goliath, great story, and the shepherd boy and all the fun stuff that he did, but not fun, but having to fight off all the animals who try to take a sheep. I think it's going to be David, just because he's the number 1 seed. He's going to slide in. Noah's going to have a tough time here, just because it's 1 versus 5. If David were to be a 2 or 3 seed going up against Noah, I'd say something a little bit different. But because that number 1 is next to David, he's going to get through. But yeah, if you really want to see a difference in the characters, go dig into their past just a little bit. You may not find quite as much on Noah, but David, you'll find a lot of good stuff on. If you want to see, if something's going to sway your vote. But my money's on David. You guys go vote. Tell me who you think's getting through. Moses versus Rahab. All right, the last matchup. This one's fun. You got a 6 seed versus a 2 seed. Rahab for Catherine. Hashtag Rahab Ministries. And Moses. Love Rahab. Great story, great character. But it's Moses. The only Old Testament character who I think, Moses is probably going to have a hard time with Abraham when it comes down to it. David and Moses in the next round would be an interesting matchup to see. 2 Old Testament characters to talk about. I think Moses could get past David. Out of the 3 that are in David's bracket, Moses has the shot of getting past David. But really narrowing it down with these 2, just because Rahab's a 6 and Moses is a 2, tells you about popularity in the Bible. Moses is going to get through on this one. I think this is where Rahab's journey is going to end with us. And if those of you who don't remember Rahab, go back, check some previous episodes, read up on her. But, Israelites and Jericho, good stuff. Gosh, I really don't want to say goodbye to Rahab. I hope Rahab gets through. I'm going to vote for Moses just because it's Moses, and I really like the Moses character. But you guys vote for who you think. Maybe this could be an upset if you really, really like Rahab. But looking at the entire bracket and what is coming up, it looks like we're going to have two ladies should be getting through in the next one. It looks like we're going to have more New Testament than Old Testament going into the Great 8. So we're in the Sweet 16. We're about to go to the Great 8. I guess that's what they call it. I don't know. Sounds like a purple drink for monkeys. Great 8. I don't know. But we're going to take the time this week to narrow it down to 2, and then I'll get some deep theological thought when we get closer to the end of everything. So go follow the link below. Go and vote. Tell me who you think needs to get to the next round. This round's important because it's going to set up a lot of tough matches next round. We're going to have a 6 or a 7 seed get to the next round, and then we'll see if one of them can get a 6 or 7 seed can get into the Final 4. Everyone else is a top 5 character in the bracket. Like I said, things are just going to get tougher from here. So go and vote. Let me know what you think. Hope you guys have fun with this, and good luck to you, and may your favorite characters make it to the end.